On a sunny day, Satoru Mikami reflects on his life and what he has not yet accomplished. He has given up on trying to get a girlfriend and comments on his bachelor lifestyle. Later, Satoru hears his name being called by his coworker, Tamura. Tamura introduces his new fiancée, Miho Sawatari, to Satoru. While the three of them have a pleasant conversation and are about to go to a nearby restaurant, Satoru is stabbed on the street by a random man with a knife. Fortunately, Tamura and Miho are safe because Satoru pushed them to safety. As blood gushes from Satoru, a mysterious voice can be heard, announcing the acquisition of a body that does not require blood, as well as various skills like Predator, Great Sage, and various resistances. The voice is only heard by Satoru, while the people around remain unaware. Satoru, using his last strength before death, asks for his PV data to be destroyed. Before we continue with the video, don't forget to hit that like button, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel to help us keep bringing more summaries like this one. Now, let's get to the video. When Satoru wakes up, he finds that he has been reincarnated as a slime. With nothing else to do while accepting his condition, Mikami eats hypocute herbs and collects magic ore. Eventually, after 3 months, Mikami's various skills have completely accustomed to his soul, allowing the presence within Great Sage to make itself known for the first time. Becoming very happy with his new companion, Mikami lets his guard down and falls into an underground lake. In an attempt to get out, the skills water current control and hydraulic propulsion are acquired. Mikami soon emerges from the water, only to find that his body is spread out by a strange barrier. It turns out that a mysterious and powerful presence is within the barrier, and the two quickly begin to converse after Mikami learns the skill telepathy. The stranger teaches the blind slime how to see, through which Mikami finally confirms that he has indeed transformed into a slime, as well as discovering the identity of the mysterious stranger, Veldora, the storm dragon. 300 years ago, Veldora was imprisoned by the hero's infinite prison, and now he expects to live only another 100 years before his declining magical power finally kills him. According to Veldora, Mikami is a unique existence in the world. Yes, there are other people who have been brought to this world, most of whom were summoned against their will, and due to various complications die quickly. Some, like Mikami, die and are reborn, but usually as the same species and world they were in their past life. And of those, only Mikami was reincarnated as a non-human, a slime. After a little conversation, the slime and the dragon agree to become friends. Meanwhile, back in the original world, Tamura fulfills Mikami's request and destroys his PV data by throwing the computer into a bathtub. He also intends to name his child after Mikami, if he ever has one. Satoru and Veldora discuss the idea of leaving the cave. While the slime is free to go anytime it wants, Veldora remains trapped. With that in mind, Satoru wants to use Predator to study the barrier and find a way to dismantle it using the Great Sage. At the very least, Satoru will contain Veldora's declining magical reserves and ensure that he does not disappear. Veldora agrees to the plan, but before they continue, he gives the slime the name Rimuru and asks the slime to think of a surname for both of them, Tempest. Once newly named Rimuru, Tempest eats the dragon and feigns, to his disappointment, that he can no longer communicate with him. At the same time, various monsters and governments sense the dragon's disappearance and begin to move to investigate and take advantage. Rimuru eventually finds his way out of Veldora's cave thanks to a trio of adventurers sent to investigate Veldora's prison. Over the next month, Rimuru hunts and eats a variety of different monsters and steals their skills, creating the Water Blade skill and continuing to empty the cave of its resources. Finally, Rimuru finds his way out of the cave and eventually comes into contact with a group of goblins. The goblins explain that after the disappearance of their guardian deity, Veldora, several monsters have started to move into the forest trying to claim their territory. Among them, a group of direwolves has been invading their village. The goblins, weak of body and armed with poor equipment, stand no chance against the wolves, who are more numerous and better armed. And so, witnessing the great power of Rimuru Tempest's aura, they ask for his help. Rimuru, briefly thinking of his past life and his inability to say no when pressured, agrees to help the goblins drive away the wolves. To help the goblins defend themselves from the dire wolves, Rimuru heals the wounded with hypocute grass potions and prepares them for battle. They build traps with sticky and steel wires from the black spider, capturing the wolves when they attack. Rimuru kills the chief of the dire wolves and takes on his form, forcing the remaining wolves to surrender. Rimuru unites the goblins and the surviving wolves, naming them Goblin Knights and naming their leaders. After the battle, Rimuru faints from excessive effort and wakes up to see that the goblins and wolves have evolved thanks to the names given by him. They now need to rethink their lives due to the larger size. Rimuru decides to send a group of goblin knights to Dwargon to seek assistance from the dwarves, while Rimuru and his group, consisting of 5 storm wolves including Ranga and 5 goblins including Rigur and Gopta, spend a few days. Traveling to the city of Dwargon, Rimuru questions the goblins about various topics. Firstly, they ask Rigur who named his brother Rigur I. According to to Rigur, his brother was named by a lieutenant passing through the army of a demon lord, a fact that leaves Rimuru slightly worried. Rimuru also questions Ranga to determine if he holds a grudge for his father's death. For Ranga, the matter of his father is not an issue, as he feels no loyalty compared to his gratitude for Rimuru, sparing his life and that of his pack, and even granting them names. Once the group arrives outside Dwargon, Rimuru instructs most of the goblins and wolves to stay behind while he enters the queue with Gobta. Once in the queue, Rimuru and Gobta are quickly harassed by a group of adventurers who see them as weak monsters and wish to rob them. Having already instructed the goblins and wolves not to attack humans without provocation, Rimuru instructs Gobta to cover his ears and turn around. Rimuru takes on the form of the newly evolved former chief of the wolves and uses intimidation to try to scare the adventurers. Meeting overwhelming success, Rimuru terrifies the other people in the queue and is immediately captured by the guards of Dwargon. Fortunately, Rimuru's story matches the eyewitness accounts, and since no one was hurt, the guard captain Kaidao feels inclined to let them go after a minimal amount of time. At this moment, one of the guards comes in and reports that a group of miners has been injured in an Armorsaurus attack and they don't have spare potions to heal them. Rimuru steps forward and trades a large amount of high-quality healing potion in exchange for their freedom. Once the dwarves are healed, Kaidu agrees to take them to the best blacksmith he knows. Kaidu takes Rimuru to his brother, Kaijin, who also happens to be the chief of the 3 miners Rimuru healed. Although the dwarf is grateful for the safe return of his employees, he is already in the middle of an order for the kingdom. Kaijin has to make 20 magic swords for the kingdom, and thanks to the work of a minister named Vesta, he has no time or magic ore to make them. Rimuru recalls their time in the cave and regurgitates refined ore in the form of a piece of magisteel. Rimuru requests the only magic sword Kaijin has ever produced, and after predating the sword, Rimuru uses the Great Sage to craft 19 copies of the weapon made of magic steel and regurgitates them, thus completing Kaijin's order. In return, Rimuru explains his need for an architect to build the village and a craftsman to make clothes and weapons. Agreeing to Rimuru's terms, Kaijin takes him to a bar staffed entirely by seductive elf women, who pamper the slime and the 4 dwarves with food and drink to celebrate. While at the bar, an elf offers Rimuru a fortune reading, showing him a vision of a woman and 5 children. Meanwhile, the local minister, Vesta, interrupts Kaijin about his order, but Kaijin reveals that he has already sent all the swords. Displeased, Vesta throws alcohol at Rimuru, leading Kaijin to knock him out. Kaijin asks Rimuru to take him to act as a craftsman in his city. However, Kaijin's brother, Kaidu, arrests them until trial, leaving Gobta tied up in the cell. Kaijin explains his history with Vesta, where he was unfairly blamed for a failed project. Kaijin believes that Vesta can change if he leaves, and wants to work for Rimuru. In court, they realize that the trial was manipulated. Gazelle asks Kaijin if he wants to return to his job, to which Kaijin responds negatively. The 5 are banished, and Gazelle reveals the truth about the failed project. Vesta is removed from his position and banished, with his dream of serving the king shattered. The brothers say their emotional goodbyes, while Gazelle instructs his spy to arrest the lawyer and spy on Rimuru, seeing them as a threat. At the headquarters of the Free Guild of the Kingdom of Blumund, Guildmaster Fuse informs 3 adventurers, Guido, Kaval, and Aaron, about the state of the surrounding area. They confirm that the Eastern Empire is not moving and Veldora has disappeared. Fuse gives them 3 days off before sending them to investigate the Great Forest of Jura. Shizu joins them. Rimuru returns to the village of the goblins and finds that 500 goblins have moved there seeking protection. After protecting them from threats, Rimuru begins to teach them useful skills and plans a town. Gobta returns to the village after escaping from Dwargon and shares his experiences. Rigurd becomes king of the goblins. The adventurers are pursued by giant ants but are saved by Rimuru. Rimuru and Shizu meet and discover that they are both from Japan. Shizu tells her story of being summoned to this world and her connection to Ifrit. She reveals that she was helped by the hero who helped her overcome her past. Shizu is summoned by Leon, and after defeating a monster is given the name Shizu. She finds an orphaned Windfang, Pizu, and takes her to live with her. Pizu becomes hostile to Leon, leading Ifrit to take control of Shizu and attack, leaving her traumatized. Years later, Shizu arrives at the village of the goblins, where Ifrit's aura manifests. She sets out to find her summoner, being welcomed by Rimuru, the leader of the goblins. Ifrit breaks free from control and goes into a violent rampage, forcing Rimuru to intervene to protect the village inhabitants. After an intense fight, Rimuru defeats Ifrit's followers with the help of the adventurers from Kaval's group. Finally, Rimuru confronts Ifrit directly and, after an intense battle, uses his predator power to swallow Ifrit, permanently trapping him in his stomach. Inside Rimuru, Ifrit is confronted by Veldora, the storm dragon, who taunts him over his inability to defeat Rimuru and considers him forever trapped within the leader of the goblins goblin's stomach. Rimuru is in Shizu's room, waiting for her recovery. Shizu is depressed, as she almost killed her friends again as Ifrit. To cheer her up, Shizu tells her life story to Rimuru. One day, Shizu's master Leon Cromwell was expelled from his castle and Shizu stayed behind as the rearguard. When Ifrit realized they couldn't defeat the hero, his fear gave Shizu an opening to regain control of her body and, with the anti-magic mask that the hero originally used, the influence of the fire elemental could be completely suppressed. Shizu made Ifrit's power her own, becoming known as the Conqueror of Flames. One day, however, the hero disappeared without a word. Shizu retired and became a teacher, where she would welcome other worlders and learn about their abilities and the modern world they now live in. With the pressure on her body growing, Shizu decided to find Leon for answers. She asks Rimuru to consume her, thus avoiding the cruel reincarnation cycle of this world. Rimuru agrees. Shizu dies peacefully, accompanied by visions of her friends and her deceased mother. Later, Kaval and Rigurd find Rimuru in the form of Shizu. Rimuru explains what happened and transforms back into a slime. Before they leave, Rimuru gifts them with new equipment. An orc is found by Gelmud and named Geld. Despite the minor setback of Ifrit's attack, the goblin village continues to grow and rebuild. Rimuru and his followers have been experimenting with the new abilities gained from eating Ifrit and Shizu. Rimuru confirmed that his human form functions exactly like a normal human body, with some subtle differences. Rimuru also confirmed the status of Shizu's unique ability, Degenerate, which allows them to merge and separate anything at will. Rimuru and Great Sage continue to experiment by combining the effects of the abilities, gaining new powerful skills. Meanwhile, a large number of magical beasts are moving through the forest, possibly due to a change in the environment. Rimuru receives an emergency request for help from Ranga, whose hunting team was attacked by ogres. Rimuru and his team confront the ogres, and after a battle, manage to capture the ogre princess. Rimuru tries to resolve things peacefully, but the ogres persist in their mistaken belief that Rimuru is responsible for an attack by an orc army. The battle continues until the ogre princess interrupts, revealing the misunderstanding. Rimuru takes the ogres back to the village to investigate who is responsible for the attack, while everyone enjoys grilled meat. A crowd of hobgoblins gathers around Rimuru, enjoying skewers of meat. Rimuru, happy to have a sense of taste again, listens to the young master of the ogres recount the orc attack on their village, resulting in the loss of everyone except those present. They suspect a connection with a Majin named Gelmud. Rimuru suggests that everyone become his subordinates to face the orcs. The ogres agree to this until the orc leader is defeated. Rimuru names each ogre but faints from magical exhaustion. He wakes up days later to find that the ogres have evolved and are busy in the village. Benimaru and Rimuru discuss strategies to face the orcs. Benimaru considers the connection with Gelmud, who once visited their village. Meanwhile, the orc army heads towards the Lizardman village, where the Lizardman chief sends his son Gabiru to form an alliance with the goblins, leading them with excessive confidence. The Kijin are working hard in Rimuru's village. Shuna is showing the dwarves and goblins her methods for weaving Hellmoth silk, while Shion has inserted herself as Rimuru's bodyguard and personal secretary. She also tries to become their cook, but after Gobta is poisoned by her food, Rimuru appoints Benimaru as their food taster, considering that he and the other Kijin already knew she was a terrible cook. Meanwhile, Gabiru and his fellow lizardmen are making progress in their efforts to bring the goblin villages under their command. They note that the next village they must visit has direwolves tamed under their command, their subordinates once again inflating Gabiru's ego. The group travels to Rimuru's village, and after making a grand entrance for Gabiru, the lizardman ends up insulting Rimuru in front of his subordinates while trying to recruit Ranga's pack to fight the orcs. To resolve the situation, Ranga has Gobta fight Gabiru, with Rimuru motivating him with the combination of a carrot and whip from a Kurobi weapon and more of Shion's cooking. The hobgoblin uses the spear he was given as a distraction, shadow movement to sneak up on Gabiru, and finally knocks him out with a kick to the back of the head, causing his subordinates to grab their leader and flee as fast as possible, despite Gabiru's personality and him seeming too stupid to be scared. Forming an alliance with the lizardmen is not something Rimuru considers a bad idea. The orcs are in their territory, and dealing with them there is preferable to waiting for them to attack. Rimuru also wonders if the demon lord supporting them is the same one who hurt Shizu. But while in a meeting with his subordinates, a dryad named Trainee asks to join, requesting that Rimuru subjugate the Orc Lord. Rimuru leads an attack team consisting of Benimaru, Sue, Shion, Hakuru, Gobta, and Ranga's Goblin Knights towards the battle in the forest. Rigurd and the civilians are ready to evacuate if necessary. Sue rescues a lizard man guard member fighting orcs and kills the invaders. The rescued guard informs that Gabiru has deposed his father as chief and is leading an offensive against the orcs. Rimuru decides to free the chief and his followers and rescue Gabiru and his men. Gabiru faces the orcs, but they gain the upper hand with skills acquired from the lizard men. Gelmud and Laplace discuss their plan, interrupted by Trainee, who attacks them. The two Magians flee, claiming to have completed their objectives. Gabiru fights the orc general alone to give his allies time to escape. Gobta and Ranga appear to protect Gabiru, while Benimaru and Ranga attack the orcs. Hakaru and Shion eliminate the stragglers. Rimuru flies to confront the Orc Lord, while Gelmud also flies to the battlefield. Sui massacres the orcs in the Lizard Man village and rescues the survivors, sending a message to the one responsible for the massacre of his tribe. That was today's content. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to share the video, leave your like, and stay tuned for the next video. Take care.